It's my honor and privilege to welcome you to a BW Dialogue. Today is a magical Monday and we have two authors who brought out a book that is relevant to current times. So let me welcome in this BW Wellbeing Dialogue. I'm joined by my colleague Kavit Bhandari, who will be my co-pilot for the next 55 minutes or so. But let me welcome the two professionals who are authors of this book. And this book is very, very relevant to current times. So let me welcome Mr. Saurabh Mukherjee, who's the author of the Victory Project, and Mr. Anupam Gupta, who's also the author and co-author of the book. In their real life, they deal with money, business, finance, but today they're going to tell you how to reach your peak potential. So let me, without any further introduction, first get the cover of the book on screen. The book has got launched today. So Raghav, we can show the cover of the book. That'll be nice. First of all, how have been the last 150 days for you personally and professionally? And how did the idea of the book come? How did you utilize the last few months to write it? First Saurabh and then Anupam. And how did you two get together?
Right. So I think Anupam and I have been working together, writing together for the best part of 6 years, Dr. Batra. And the idea came a couple of years ago. I'd left my preceding job and I was in the process of setting up Marcellus Investment Managers. You need licenses to set up a portfolio management business in India. So I had 3-4 months whilst we were waiting for the license. And I remember one afternoon in Cafe Zoe in Bombay, Anupam and I were having a cup of coffee and we were discussing what are the psychological drivers, psychological drivers of success in a modern professional environment. Whether it's in fund management, whether it's in the publishing world, whether it's in the journalistic world, what are the mental drivers of success? And that led us to collaborate on a short series of articles for a website down in Bangalore, which in turn spawned the idea for the book. So we used the lockdown basically to tie up the loose ends of the book together, but also there's plenty of free time, right? The commute time that one spends in the pre-COVID world, that time is free. So I've used it for non-stop reading. So I've targeted one book a week in terms of my own reading. And I'm proud to say in 4 months, I've managed to get more reading done than I've done in the last 4 years. Anupam?
Yeah, it's been extremely busy. I mean, I for one haven't had so much of, I wish I had more of leisure time, but maybe it's probably a good thing that I have had a lot of work. First, there's a book, of course. We had to put in a lot of effort towards the end of the book because with the project of this size, and so much of reference material, there's always some small things here and there. So that was the first thing. My podcast, of course, Paisa Vaisa, I have recorded more in these recent times that I have in the studio when, pre-COVID. Surprisingly, a lot of people have wanted to come forth and tell their story through the podcast medium. So that has been very heartening. It's given me opportunity to, in fact, also look at a couple of new ideas. So that's number 2. Number 3 is, of course, the work that I do, which is the investment research consulting work that I do. A couple of clients they've also wanted to have work done. And then the 4th was, I'm also working on a very large project in the education space. So there's been a lot of work. The background, this COVID obviously has been a mental thing for all of us, and not just for everybody sitting here in Bombay, but for all of humanity. Anyway, there is very little space in the world where you won't be affected by this. So the book actually is an effort, to probably give a bit of a diversion to readers, to the audience out there, to tell them that even during this very difficult time for all of us, you can actually survive and thrive if you follow the principles in the book. So that's how it's been, Doctor, so far.
Thank you so much. Now, we saw the book on the screen. Your book has 4 very basic but yet very powerful principles. Now, those principles, as you said, can be applied to any profession. They can be applied to life. First off, tell us what those professions are and build what those principles are, and build on those principles, and tell us how can they lead into peak potential.
Sure. So the way we've constructed the 6 steps is there's a sort of foundational layer. The foundational layer of skills that we have laid out in the book are simplification, specialization, and spirituality. And then the more advanced layer of skills The more advanced layer of skills is around clutter reduction, creativity, and collaboration. Right. So I'll go through the foundational layer. Anupam, if you could elaborate on the more advanced layer. The foundational layer, in a way, is the layer I wish somebody had told us when we were 20, 21 years old, which is first choose something in life that appeals to you. That's something that innately appeals to your instincts, to your taste, and specialize in that. Build a core set of skills which is your specialized skill. Once you've been able to find your specialized skills, seek to simplify the subject matter discipline. Come up with simple rules that can drive success, simple rules that can lead to more efficient thinking, more efficient action. And we've highlighted in the book that in this journey of simplification and specialization, you might find it helpful to get a guru who's the subject matter expert, a guru who's been there, done that, and can accelerate your journey of development. The third foundational skill we've said is spirituality. Now, this is not spirituality in the sense of, you go to some religious place of worship and you start doing, a prayer and japmala and so on. This is spirituality in the sense of realizing that there is more to life than me and myself. Spirituality in the sense of realizing that the happiness of the people around you, your friends, your family, your colleagues, the broader society you live in, that is as essential for your success as your personal endeavors. And where I, for one, became more convinced of spirituality. I used to be a very cynical person on this subject. A few years back, when I started managing money, I realized for the first time that there are no future facts that I can use. Right? Managing money necessarily means figuring out what the world looks like over the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. There are no future facts that can help us. Spirituality, therefore, becomes a bridge between our skill sets and our ability to interpret the world around us and live reasonably happily. So basic skills, simplification, specialization, spirituality. The more advanced skills, Anupam, requesting you to outline them.
Beautiful. And Anupam, why don't you build on this? As he said, Saurabh said you'll share the specialized, another advanced level of skills. Just build on it. It's so beautiful. These 4 pillars are so beautiful that if I told my children about it, who are young adults, they could go on and build on it and build a career out of it. So tell us, what are the advanced pillars? Anupam, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. So the advanced skills are 3. There's declutter, creativity, and collaboration. Declutter actually, so here's the thing, right? Now you could meditate as much as you want, but if you can't manage those 24 hours in a day, the tasks and the projects that you have, you'll just, your entire system will go back to how things are, to cognitive overload. So we need to make a conscious attempt to focus on what's important and to declutter our lives. So one of the examples that Saurabh likes to give is of a fund manager friend of his who he had met, and who told him that he focuses on very, very few things: his family, his investors, and his closest colleagues, and he deprioritizes everything else. So once you have that clarity on your goals, you move on to building prioritized checklists that could help you with execution. From there, we move to creativity. Now, the thing about creativity is that every original idea ultimately gets copied. So how do you actually produce genuinely original thought? And it's not really difficult. You have experts like Adam Grant and a lot of authors, a lot of creative giants who agree on this very, very simple list of 5 things. First is read widely, diverse opinions, diverse topics. Second, explore the world. Third, enhance your memory. Fourth, work hard and produce a lot of ideas, and you would see that, whether it's a Virat Kohli or even the Oscar-winning film director Satyajit Ray, the kind of hard work that they do and the vast body of work that they produce is really something. And finally, make friends. Try and meet and collaborate with other creatives and find friends, people who can give you emotional support, intellectual support, and practical help. In fact, there's a quality that we see in almost all the guests that we have interviewed for this book. And finally, collaboration, because no matter how creative you are, you're just one person. So if your mission is, to realize your goals, you have to interact with the world, and in the process, probably change the world with your ideas. For that, you have to know and how to learn to influence other people and win their support. And collaboration has is a really advanced skill that is useful in this respect. And examples across the world and even in India about how you've had to collaborate, how famous leaders, Abraham Lincoln, Mahatma Gandhi, have had to collaborate with people that they don't necessarily like, but who work together towards a common cause. One of the guests that we had interviewed for the book, Manish Sabharwal of Team Lease, gave a great example using the metaphor of the Hoysala architecture, which is 900 years old and can be seen in some of the temples in Belur, in Karnataka. The sculptures in these temples have three animals: lions for power, elephants for strength, and horses for speed. So a good king ensures that he has all three: power, strength, and speed in good combination. So those are the three skills, the three advanced skills, so to say, which build on this layer of simplicity, specialization, and spiritualization.
Fantastic. Now tell us, Saurabh and Anupam, there's too much of uncertainty. The word VUCA, the volatile, uncertain, complex, was invented for COVID times.
Yes.
How can your book help people navigate through it? I get you build the basic pillars, and then you, as Anupam said, you get into the next level of refinement, and you use that as a thumb rule or as a guide to move forward. But tell us, how can people use your book to be able to navigate today's time, to be able to build for future?
So it's remarkable that you mentioned VUCA because in the advance praise for the book, Shogoto Gupta, the MD and CEO of Marico, he himself has said in the advance praise for the Victory Project, he says, in a networked and VUCA world where collaboration, grit, and emotional maturity are more important than functional knowledge, this book offers a powerful template for development as a holistic leader. Right? So just to sort of illustrate the point that Shogoto is making, and effectively Dr. Batra, you are making as well, I'll look at the Radio City case study given in the book. So Apurva Purohit, the lady who built Radio City, she's done a case study for the book. She features in a case study in the book, and Ms. Purohit says that she's a big user of the balanced scorecard model. Right? The balanced scorecard model is a tool created by the American management guru Robert Kaplan. And what balanced scorecard says is every business will have numerous goals, right? The profitability, social welfare, stakeholder benefit, staff ka welfare, right? So how do you balance it all? And Apurva says, she told us for the book, and I quote from the book, Apurva learned the term F1 from the balanced scorecard tool, which specifies a primary goal at the top, i.e. where F is equal to financial, and F1 is basically the primary financial goal of the company, right? She said, if we can do this at the company level, you can do this at the functional level, right? And with these concepts such as F1, where you're using a balanced scorecard, you're balancing your workers' interests, society's interests, environmental interests, your profitability, but you have to choose your F1, right? You got to choose your F1. Once you've chosen your F1, everything else then works and falls around it. Now, what's interesting is you can do F1 as a corporate, right? So business world can have a F1 saying this is our main financial goal, and I can do F1 as an individual, that this is my primary goal. What Apurva says in the book is don't have multiple F1s, right? Have one F1 at a point in time. If you have multiple F1s, you'll go mad. Choose one F1, your overriding priority, and then everything else can work around that, right? So whether we are a corporate, whether we are a government, whether we are a nation, whether we are an individual, I think we got to be clear as to what we want to pursue in the next 1 year, 3 year, 5 years. If we do that, then in the VUCA world, we'll find our way through it. If we are confused in our own head about our goals, obviously life gets very difficult.
Beautiful. Anupam, what would you like to contribute to that?
I think, we've mentioned a few things in the book, and I'll touch upon a few of them called, two things, routine and habit. So right now we are in this very volatile world where a lot of us have been through this for 5 or 6 months, and now I think we've now finally got an idea. The science tells us something, the maths tells us something, the numbers tell us something. So you first, figure out what are your fears. Are your fears about the disease? Then learn about the disease and learn about the risk factors and figure out. No one says that, we have enough knowledge now to tell us the right way and the wrong way. Once you've got that figured out, you've taken one big thing off your head. That doesn't need to trouble you anymore now, provided you take the necessary precautions. Once you've taken that off the table, then find your routine, as Saurabh said, focus on that F1. What is your F1 right now? If you have a job, if you've been given a project, excel in that. If you have a business, and if that's going through an extremely difficult time, make a priority list and figure out what are the problems. And once you've got that F1, which could be anything, could be maintain cash flows or increase profits, just work backwards from there. I think that's what I would like to say.
Okay, I just want to ask you, you already talked of simplicity, specialization, creativity, and collaboration. Now, tell us what are the 6 steps in terms of achieving, as in your book you talk about the 6 steps, right? What are those 6 steps? You already alluded to them. And again, I'm asking, how do you deal with the stress? A lot of people are dealing with negativity, stress, the uncertainty, right? When will the vaccine come? When we'll be able to meet each other?
Sure.
So I think
what are the 6 steps to achieve peak potential, and what do you have to say to people who are suffering from negativity, stress, uncertainty, anxiety, uncertainty? How do they kind of minimize? It's difficult sometimes to eliminate, but how do they focus on the positives that exist in their life? Tell us, as authors, how have you approached this?
Sure. So Anupam, if you don't mind, I'll go through the 6 steps. Perhaps you can use Jason Voss's example and case studies to explain how Jason Voss, built a very successful career in Wall Street and minimized stress. So what the Victory Project does is the 6 steps basically we've created is almost like a pyramid. The bottom layer of the pyramid, the foundation of the pyramid is you choose your specialization, the area, the subject matter, the skill you specialize in. Then you build simplification, simple rules to drive success. Then you build spirituality, right? So the bottom layer of the pyramid, the foundational layer of skills is simplicity, specialization, and spirituality. And the intermediate layer of the pyramid is the more advanced layer of skills around clutter reduction, right? Get rid of superfluous things in life, get rid of superfluous people in life, get your head cleared up, focus on priorities, reducing superfluous things, superfluous people, superfluous events, declutters your head becomes clearer, fresher. Drive creativity. How do you drive creativity? Read extensively, travel extensively, meet a variety of people, go through a variety of experiences in life, produce lots of output. In the book, in the chapter on creativity, we've given almost a recipe for driving creativity, and we've given case studies of creative powerhouses like Satyajit Ray. Right? Then you drive collaboration, right? No matter how talented you are, you're not going to get anywhere in life by yourself, right? I think one of the biggest challenges of the exam-oriented education system in our country is people are convinced by the time they're 21, 22 that they can conquer Mount Everest on their own. Just like they've passed exams all their life on their own, they're convinced Mount Everest also they're going to conquer on their own. But in the real world, you can't do anything on your own. You can't compose music on your own. You can't write a book and publish a book on your own. You can't build a company on your own. Find find allies who can help you drive collaborative success. They might or might not be like-minded. So the example we give in the book is Team of Rivals, which is the team that Abraham Lincoln put together to rebuild America after the Civil War. Bitterly opposed political rivals came together to rebuild America. India's own government, India's own first government after independence was a team of rivals, right? So build a team of diverse talents, bring them together and drive. So those are the 6 steps of the simplicity paradigm. Request Anupam to give an example of the simplicity paradigm at full throttle.
Yeah, okay, thanks Saurabh. So Dr. Batra, you mentioned about uncertainty, about stress, and about this negativity that's there. So even before this entire thing started, we had written in the book, and something that both Saurabh and I believe it's part of the declutter principle, part of the focus principle, part of the specialization principles. Cut yourself off from news. They even have a term for it, and it's called doom scrolling. People have this this desire to read only bad news, and that's what the news media also uses. That
not to read news. That's not a good thing. People should be informed. They should
I
read the
didn't
right
say-
product. They should read the right editorial product.
That's it. There you go. Perfect.
And have the right proportion of what is reality, even for if it is temporarily negative, and the positive. Because the positive outstrips the negative. I mean,
Well,
this shall do pass.
yeah. I hope that's right. You mentioned the negativity, and there's also a lot of positive news happening in the world. So perhaps one thing could be that you choose the news that you want to consume, because there is no dearth of negative news, and like you said, now there is no dearth of positive news also. So I think if you can curate the content that you consume, that's the starting point. There is of course spiritualization that we spoke about in depth, and Ray Dalio, one of the most famous investors, makes this point very clearly. He says the most valuable habit I've acquired is using pain. I repeat, using pain to trigger quality reflections. Okay, this is not going to come easy to a lot of people, but he says that if you can acquire this habit of using pain to trigger quality reflections, you will learn what causes you pain and what you can do about it. So it's your choice, honestly. If you can use the pain, the stress, the uncertainty, the negativity to help you think and meditate and figure out what's causing you, that can actually help you. Now, if news can help you to be a better person, go ahead, fine. That's it's your call. And then, of course, you've got the other example that we've quoted. We've had an interview with him. He's an American fund manager based out of Florida, Jason Voss, who Saurabh just referred to. He's a deep believer in how spirituality can help us make better investment decisions, and I believe decisions outside of that also. So because meditation not only helps you in relaxing your mind and improving your focus, it also helps you understand your surroundings. Could be your family, could be your colleagues, your friends. So when you figure out that your happiness is more important, that will help you heal your mind. That meditation, the process, and the discipline. Meditation is a discipline. You need to do it continuously, and that will help you heal your mind and deal with this uncertainty and deal with the stress, and hopefully make you perform better for longer. In his words, and I quote, meditation practices are the polishing techniques that help you be the best. You need to find the tools and techniques that exalt your consciousness. And once you discover that, what makes you and your talents unique, and that can be found through spirituality, then all of a sudden, magic happens. So that's it from my side.
And Saurabh and Anupam, while you were writing the book, some of the people that you talked of are my friends, I am a book freak. Okay?
Right.
I'm a book aficionado. I buy 50 books in a week. I don't read 50 books. And last 5 months, I have to tell you, I have read only one book. When the pandemic started, I said I'll finish all the books I bought. But I've been super busy kind of reimagining business world as a TV first, video first product, digital first, building communities. I've been more busy than ever, and I'm happy about it because it's a productive activity. It keeps me mentally centered. But, I know what you're talking about. I want to know from you, while writing the book, what is the change that came into you, Saurabh? Because when I'm listening to you, some of the things that I know, I've read Ray's book, I've read possibly all the books you would have in the book, almost. I buy all the books that become even a little relevant. I won't say famous, because I do buy books that have not done very well, but I found them very useful. What is the change the book triggered in you when you were writing? I mean, if you were perfect before the book and you didn't need a change, then it's fine. Like my wife is perfect.
We're all work in progress. But here's two big changes since you and I last met on that flight from Delhi to Bombay. Between then and now, so between the last 3-4 years, I think the first thing that I've stopped doing is on those evening flights, I don't work anymore. So on those evening flights, every evening flight, and I, till pre-COVID, I used to unfortunately be on flights 3 or 4 nights a week. I used to work even on the evening flight. I used to get home completely smashed out of exhaustion. Then I would have trouble sleeping because my head was still buzzing. I would wake up in the morning bleary-eyed, right? Whilst going through this whole process of writing the book, especially the spirituality chapter, what Jason Voss had to tell us about calming yourself down, about switching off the egoic mind. The evening flights, I no longer work, even through the COVID lockdown. At home, I've tried to make sure that after 7 o'clock, no mobile phones, no watching the news, no getting the mind wired up. Just let your mind relax. Let your egoic mind fade away so that you can get a good night's sleep. I think the other thing is the realization that actually my own talents and my own personal capabilities are actually not going to take me very far unless I work with a broader group of people, unless I subsume my identity. Unless I subsume my identity in a broader group of people, I'll never be able to achieve whatever it is that I'm trying to achieve in life.
And that's what collaboration.
The collaboration.
Let's look at it, collaborate.
And I think
Even this book is collaborative.
Manish, absolutely. The book is collaboration, right? I wouldn't have written half as good a book without Anupam, right? Manish Sabharwal ji at TeamLease, the case study we did with him was very helpful, and he's given a brilliant case study about how he and his colleagues built TeamLease. Without his teammates, Manish ji believes he couldn't have built anything like the TeamLease that exists today. So those were my two big learnings. Anupam, yours?
So this for me, even prior, so I've been working from home since 2013. When I met Saurabh in 2014 and we started working from there, it's been a learning process for me all those 6 years, and it actually continues to be. And if I were to look at maybe just two practices, one is declutter. If I look at it back in 2010, I needed to have the latest mobile, now I don't. I needed to buy 10 things, now I don't. So for me, the central principle would be around declutter and, just being very focused on things that you like. That's the first thing. And second thing, I think deliberative practice, we mentioned that in the book a lot, trying to improving your results with every consecutive, move that you do. So it could be as simple as writing or learning a new sport or learning a new language. The key is to be better and better at it. So those would be the two things from my side, Dr. Batra.
Okay. See, I'll tell you, Saurabh, I met you on a flight. I would fly 16, 17 days in a month, right? I'd be out of home. And, when COVID happened and the lockdown happened, I felt like, lost for 2-3 days. Also, money, I thought about money. I thought about a lot of things related to work. I still think that. But just I believe that things will be better. I don't travel. It has brought focus. I sleep well. I sleep on whatever. I sleep late, but I sleep enough.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm not traveling, and it's okay. And I do miss going to Bombay, meeting my friends, both business acquaintances mostly, and people who have made friends. Maybe the hotel I'm living, the general manager will become a friend. So I miss that. But life has gone on well. So realize, as you and Anupam are saying, a lot of things are unnecessary. Possibly some of those can be done away with even when COVID is handled medically. Some of them, we do responsible travel, we do less.